The right care, right at home. Australia's premier in-home care provider. Local legends want it. A Bowls Green is just up the road. Search Bowls clubs near me.
From the wide outdoors to the great indoors, this is Without Bias.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Without Bias here on 1116 SCN, your home of sport. For Bowls Australia, a Bowls Green is right around the corner. Search Bowls Greens near me. Febbo here with you for another big edition of the show in the wake of what was a brilliant national development series last week up at Club Tweed. Some brilliant results for some of the up-and-coming stars of the competition. And Beck Van Asch, former Jackaroo and now high-performance manager at Bowls Australia, is going to join me a little later on to chat about the event from a HP point of view. But someone that played in the tournament last week was emerging Jackaroo Sophie Kurzman from Victoria, who joins me on the line now. Soph, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm going well. How are you, Sophie? And how did you find the National Development Series last week?
I'm doing well. It's a little cold back down here in Victoria, but I loved the development series. It was a really great week away with a lot of great people and the great coaches and things. So, yeah, really enjoyed that one.
It's such an amazing event because it's designed to give younger bowlers and the up-and-coming stars, as I said before, the chance to develop their skills under tournament conditions. How much did you gain from it?
Well, this year we had it a little bit different. I actually found that I got a lot out of it this year. We were combined with a lot of the para players and actually got to play, alongside them and have them in our rink rather than sort of being a little bit more separated. So from that, and then having the coaches around and playing with people that you don't obviously always get the chance to play with, as we're, widespread around Australia, I gained a lot out of it. You're being looked over by the best of the best and you're playing alongside the future best and the best. So, I got a lot out of it this year and plenty of pointers to take away.
And working with those para players, obviously, you're right, you wouldn't get to play with them much at all. So how did you find that aspect of it?
I loved it, and I only heard good feedback from that. Obviously, having them in our teams last year, it was great to be alongside them, but to actually have, the merge between everybody, it was really great. Like I got to play, pairs with Coop, and I got to skip him, and he played outstanding, and it was just really great to play with and against, some people that are just so amazing. So yeah, it was great.
And it was your second time playing the event after taking part last year. How much did last year's event teach you in preparation for this year?
Well, going into it, I sort of looked at it the same. Last year was obviously, the first one, and they've obviously made a few changes this year, but I definitely looked forward to it. We only had 5 aside rather than 7 as it was last year, so a few changes. But, going in from last year, knowing sort of what you're expecting and what is expected of you, definitely helped in sort of me preparing for this year and knowing what to focus on and what to work with and the combos, etc. So, it was really good.
And you were on Team Blue under the superstar that is Lindsay Clark. How much did you learn from her? Because had you had much involvement with Linny before this event in terms of playing?
No, I came across her at the Oz Open. Kate and I had to play her in Kels. But besides that, I haven't had too much to do with Linny other than in the HP sort of area. But obviously she's not my pathways coach, so I don't get to come across paths with her too much. So it was really great to have her on board. I was able to have some really great chats with her, and she's got some amazing insight, obviously, with the work that she's done at the AIS and the mentoring programs and things that she's been a part of. So I'll still remember there was one great chat that we had after, I think it was the end of the second day, and I got so much out of that from her and her personal insight that she gave me that she probably doesn't tell a lot of people. I gained, so much from that and took so much away. And when I came home and was speaking to Mum, I said, I really need to start doing this, or I need to look into this because, Lindsay said it helped her, and I was able to take a lot away from what she gave me. So Lindsay's amazing, and we all love Linny. So, but it was really great to work that close with her.
She's just an absolute gem of a human being. But you look at her and someone that she retired on top. She won the World Championships gold medal last year and retired from international duty, still playing really well at state level. So how much does that help you, considering she's still so heavily involved in the game and only retired from the highest of levels last year?
Oh, it's amazing to see, someone that's able to do that and balance, her family and her work and things like that. And then, she retires and she's still at the top of her game in coaching and, state bowls and things like that. It's really admirable and something that obviously a lot of us aspire to do. Obviously bowls can take a bit of time, but to be able to see that you can balance it with everything, and myself as a full-time student and, trying to balance life and social and bowls and everything, to be able to see people at the best of the best level being able to do that, it shows you that it is possible. And it was really, really great to get some insight from her on how she was actually able to do that. So she's a very impressive lady and it was great to work with her.
Sensational. And you look at how important it is to get those insights, but also it's very important to develop relationships with a lot of the people that are in the Pathways squad, so whether they're an emerging Jackaroo or a Pathways Jackaroo. Now, you and Kate Argent-Bowden, I know you two are very close friends and you get up to a lot of mischief when you're together at the AO, but now you get to develop relationships with a lot of other players as well. So how important was that for you to get to know people that you might not have spoken to much before?
Oh, I thought it was great. So I was obviously blue. I was red last year under JR. And I didn't have, one person the same in my crew this year. So I got to play with people that, I've been alongside for a couple of years now, but just never had the chance to actually interact with them on the bowl screen sort of thing. So I thought it was really great to be able to develop those, on the green and off the green relationships. And we had such a great time on and off the green, like the socialising, the dinners, to learn a little bit more about those people that you don't get to see from other states. It was really it was just very rewarding to actually be able to talk to people and find out why they're there and how they got there. And Linny ran a really great session that involved Lego of all sorts, and we got to learn a little bit about everyone and how they've got to where they are today and what's important to them. And you just learn a lot about the people that you were working with, and to not be able to always do that, it was really something that I took away from it. So, it was great.
What did you have to do with the Lego?
It's sort of hard to explain. It's cool. So we all had our tables with different teams, and there was a couple of prompts that we got given, and you had to just build, like one activity I'll give you as an example. We just had to build a tower with you in it. Okay. And me thinking literally, I thought we had to build a tower and then put ourselves in the middle of it as a little Lego person, but no. So you might have a pink brick that represents your family and you might put that on the bottom because it's important. And then you've got your career as another coloured block, and you had to build a tower that represents you. And everyone's looked so different and, all these different things. So mine had flowers on it that represented, memories and my values and things like that. One little sector of mine had 5 little heads for my family. Things like that. So everyone's looked so different and we all got to tell our own little story, and I learnt so much about the people in the blue team, and then we all put photos of it so we were able to see everyone. So that was a really great activity and something I would have never have expected of doing. But it was really great to learn a little bit more about, our coach, because Lindsay joined in, and our people that we're going to be working with for the next couple of days. So it was very interesting and something that I would definitely do again because it was really rewarding.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure Lindsay would have had plenty of Lego lying around with her young boy. I reckon she would have just pinched it from his bedroom, surely. But now, your key takeaways from the event. I know there would have been a lot on green and off green. What was the major one for you that you think that, that's something I wasn't doing? If you want to reveal that. If not, that's more than fine.
No, that's okay. There was one thing that we sort of spoke about, and I think I accidentally sort of spoke about it one session, and then it sort of became a thing that we ended up saying a lot, and it was process over outcome. So for me, that meant sort of, if you've got a 21 end game, focusing on the process of how you're doing it, and if things aren't going well, how to change the process, and not always focusing on the outcome. Obviously, a win is a win, and that's what you want. But if you're not focusing on how you're actually getting there and it's not working, or things are working and you're not taking any notice of it, there was no point in really being there because you haven't figured out, sort of what was working and what wasn't and what you can take away from that. And Lindsay ended up really big on it as well. We actually had a chance to come from the bottom of the ladder to win it in the last day, and we said, all right, well, let's focus. We're gonna focus on the process of what we have to do to get there. And if the outcome comes, it comes. And if it doesn't, then the process has been good anyway. So, that was something big that I took away. And I suppose in a situation where you're losing, and it's almost guaranteed that you're going to lose the game, then focusing more on the process of how you can turn yourself around rather than the outcome that you know that you're going to end up losing, sort of thing. So that was a really big one that I took away, and something that I'll definitely be using in the future.
Brilliant. Absolutely sensational. Sophie Kurzman, thank you very much for joining me on Without Bias. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show to chat about your experience at the NDS last week. It looked like a great tournament from afar, and you certainly played well, and good luck with the next few months because I know they're going to be pretty busy.
I know, they are quite busy. I've got a VBL and some state series, and hopefully we're going to play New South Wales and Queensland, and hopefully I keep, getting picked if I can go all the way to Nationals again and back up what we did last year. So, yeah, no, busy a couple of months, but looking forward to it. Thanks, Val.
Sophie Kurzman joining me on Without Bias. Great to have her company on the show to chat about her experience last week, and we'll continue in the NDS theme with Rebecca Van Asch joining me after the break to talk more about the tournament from a high-performance perspective and what she took from the competition. Stick around.
The right care, right at home. Australia's premier in-home care provider. Local legends want it. A Bowls Green is just up the road. Search Bowls clubs near me.
From the wide outdoors to the great indoors, this is Without Bias.
You're listening to Without Bias on 1116 SEN, your home of sport. For Bowls Australia, a Bowls Club is right around the corner. Search Bowls Greens near me. A big thank you to Sophie Kurzman for joining me in the first segment, one who played the National Development Series last week. And another person that was there in a high-performance role was Rebecca Van Asch, former Jackaroo and now HP manager with Bowls Australia, joining me on the line to chat about the NDS. Beck, welcome.
Hey Val, good to be here, and especially to talk around a topic that I love so much.
And we loved it from afar as well. It looked like a great event. The live streams all went really well. The matches were scintillating. Now, how thrilled were you with the second running of the tournament?
Oh, absolutely. It feels like the NDS, as we call it, the National Development Series, is a bit of a jewel in the crown of our National Performance Pathways program, and the Performance Pathways program is all about developing Australia's future champions, and we've been really fortunate that we've enjoyed so much international success now over the last decade or more. But we want to continue to make sure that Australia is number one for a long time to come. And for us to be able to do that, we need to develop our next lot of champions and our development players coming through. So the NDS really allows us to do that. It allows us to let the athletes actually experience and feel what it is to live the life of a Jackaroo on tour and experience what a tour like that feels like.
And it was designed a little differently to 2023's event. What was done different to last year?
Yeah, we changed a couple of things. So last year in its inaugural year, we had the four teams still, but we had 4 teams of 5 open players and 2 para athletes in each one. This year we incorporated it that it was the 4 teams of 5 with the 4 open athletes and 1 para making up each of the 5 teams. And we wanted it to be a fully inclusive opportunity, regardless of whether our pathways and emerging athletes were open athletes or para athletes. And it was actually really exciting to see that happen, and everyone was just out there as, I want to say 1 team, but it was very much 4 teams because it was a very competitive environment, which was awesome. So it was just about bringing the teams together more, but also really replicating what international competition is like, and that 5-a-side format, which our juniors play it at nationals, but outside of that, we don't really play a true 5-a-side format too often around the country. So when you do go international and you start playing, World Championships, Commonwealth Games, multi-nations events like that, where we get to play it, it's a really good experience to actually fully understand what it's all about.
So what were some of the initiatives that the HP team brought in for this year's competition in terms of the 5-a-side? And what drills did you sort of go through with the players, and how did you sort of structure the week for them to make it look like an international event?
Yeah, it's certainly more the NDS and the opportunity of what that whole tour is about is very much about more than just what you see on the green. So, as I mentioned at the start, it's about the opportunity for the athletes to live and breathe the life of a Jackaroo on tour and getting to learn how to cater for themselves. So, we stayed in self-contained apartments to give the athletes an opportunity, and they had to be prepared. They had to make sure that they were able to organise their breakfast, go in and buy up big at the supermarket and make sure they were organised for the week, and have some nutritious dinners and catering for themselves. We had a couple of team dinners as well. So those sort of things that like experiencing what we would do on a tour. We incorporated a lot of recovery into the sessions. So our athletes have been to AIS camps where we've talked around recovery and what that includes after a long day's play on the greens. And we have like these compression boots, and we have hot and cold showers, and going from like hot spas into cold pools, and lots of different stretches and exercises that we do with the athletes. We've learnt that in AIS camps, but actually getting the opportunity to have access to the equipment, which is exactly what our jackaroos and para-jackaroos get to do when we're travelling. They get the opportunity to also participate and understand that side of things. We have a mental performance in competition known as our MPC program, where we've been upskilling the athletes in the mental preparation and some of the mental skills that they could develop and actually put into practice on the green. So before we actually started the competition, we had some more in-depth sessions about that for individuals and for the teams. So they're learning all of this sort of stuff, and it's like, well, okay, how do we actually make this a reality, and how does it help us on the green and make us better athletes and better players? So we were able to actually show them how they can employ that into their game and actually improve as individuals. So, yeah, it was all about all these other little things that were going on, and as well as the big opportunity for talent identification and the selectors to actually be able to see them in action as well. Probably one of the other byproducts that we don't talk about a lot is the coach development aspect of the event, and the opportunity for our pathways coaches to also get to learn and take the reins. They do a lot of coaching individually with these athletes back in their home environments, but to actually get to coach an actual team and have to work with them ringside during a match, and all the logistics that goes into managing that and getting post-match reports at the end of the day back to the athletes is something new for the coaches to experience. So they have to learn, what Gary and Karen and those of us that coach on tour go through. So it's a really great opportunity for them with mentors like our national coach and national assistant coach there with them to give them feedback.
That is absolutely...
Sorry, that's a lot of information about. Sorry.
No, I was sitting there just engrossed in all of that. That's brilliant, and it's exactly what the sport needs for these younger players, because they get that experience to go into these tournament conditions. And one other thing that I know that you did was shifting indoors for a couple of sessions. What were some of the reasons for that?
Yeah, and look, sometimes we go away for events and some curveballs can happen. We had a Trans-Tasman back in, I think it was like 2020 maybe, something like that, yep. Where, we got some inclement weather and had to go indoors at the drop of a hat. Things like that can happen, and all of a sudden you're going from one surface to another. We were also really fortunate. Tweed had some of the best greens in the world, absolute fantastic club. And we were able to actually host the event the whole time on one green. So, sometimes when you're playing, even at some clubs, you might go from one green to another that's completely different. They were going to be spoilt in that manner. So it was a way of throwing a curveball at the athletes and just giving them an opportunity to have to experience going onto a different surface and how they adapt to that. We've seen this week some selections come out and some announcements for some upcoming events, and some of those events will be held on carpet. So it was also an opportunity from that talent ID and selection aspect for the selectors to actually see the athletes and how they performed on carpet in preparation for some of those selections.
And the attitude from the athletes across the board, Beck, looked amazing. So how happy does that make you to see that buy-in from each of the 20 participants plus the coaches?
100% Val. Like, we do so much work with our jackaroos and all of our high performance squads around culture and behaviours and the expectations of wearing the green and gold and what it is to be a high performance athlete. And, that's some hard work sometimes to be maintaining that and the expectations that come along with taking that step up to being a part of our system. And there can be some steep learnings. With the athletes that we saw last week, it's just ingrained in them. Like they're just such great people. They're such great athletes, and they've got so much potential ahead of them. And they're clearly learning the right way from the start, and are just ingrained in that system and those learnings. And to actually see that come to the fore and just see the strength of the individuals that we've got coming through is so heartening. And I think with all the work that we put into the Performance Pathways system, it's great to see, and to actually get to see that play out on the green last week was awesome, to see that it is paying off. And, we'll continue to keep doing that. So hopefully the next generations coming through also see that.
It certainly does look like it's in a fantastic place, Beck. Thank you very much for joining me on Without Bias. It's been a pleasure hearing your perspective from the NDS. It looks like it was a sensational event. I'm looking forward to the third instalment in 2025.
Thanks, Val. I love the opportunity to talk about it, and hopefully everyone tuned in. Thank you.
Beck Van Asch joining me on Without Bias. A big thank you to her and Sophie Kurzman for joining me on the show this evening. It was great to have their thoughts on the National Development Series. And of course, you can subscribe to Bowls Australia's social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn and YouTube, as well as bowls.com.au for everything you need to know about the sport of bowls, as well as its official podcast, The Right Line, on Apple, Spotify and Google Podcasts. But until next week, I'm Val Febbo, and I'll catch you then on another episode of Without Bias.